Oh man, so what has my coach Tim and y'all's pastor for real? No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Y'all's pastor for life. Same thing, yes? Whether he's y'all's pastor for real or he's y'all's pastor for life, same difference. Okay, I see no difference. Yes, you're stuck with him. You're stuck with him. Yes, you decided to ride with him. You were ready to ride for y'all's pastor. You're stuck with him for life. All right, keep those donations going. Keep those tips going. Keep those offerings going. Keep the Cash App going. Keep the Venmo flowing. Yes, you know what I'm saying? But what has my coach been up to? What has he been up to? Is that right? Is he rehashing? He's rehashing many of the stories that he's already told on IAG. Many of the stories that he's already rehashed on the formerly known as Resurrection Ranch. Many of the same stories. Is that right? He's telling his life story once again. Is that right? Does he not realize that his P2P from going from prison to perpetrating, or in Megan's case, going from purpose to being imprisoned, does he not realize that his P2P subscribers are merely a subset of his IAG subscribers? Does he not realize that? Does he really think that those P2P podcast subscribers are actually new viewers? Does he not realize that? He probably does. He really doesn't care. Whatever it takes to, really. So whatever it takes to fill out the content, whatever it takes to fill out the 20 or 30 minutes or so, he doesn't mind going back through the same stories, rehashing the same stories, the same tales, and being able to craft them differently, slightly different, each time that he goes back through the tales. Is that right? Is that right? Oh my goodness. Now, I do understand that my coach, he talked about having 10 years in the ministry. 10 years in the ministry. Is that right? We do know that my coach is disabled. We do know that he's handicapped. We do know that he has glaring disability, glaring deficiencies when it comes to the mathematics. Yes, we do understand that. It's on display. Every opportunity, it's on display. So months ago, he said, well, he tries not to get caught on camera doing any mathematics. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. But yeah, he keeps throwing in these numerical figures as part of his content. And so now he's saying that he's been in the ministry for 10 years. I'm sorry, they did the ministry for 10 years prior to them moving out to the farm. Is that right? Now, based upon the video evidence and what they've shared from time to time, and I do understand that it's a challenge. It's a challenge for my coach to link all of these tall tales. It's a challenge for him to link all of these fabrications, all of these exaggerations. It's a challenge for him to link them all together. Okay, we do understand that. But now, if he's saying that he did ministry for 10 years prior to moving out to the farm, keeping in mind that they've been out there, that farm, for 4 to 5 years now, yes? Bearing in mind that he's 35 years old, even though he claims to not to know for sure whether he's 35 or 36. I'm like, okay, come on, dude. Okay, every other video, you're talking about, well, I'm 35 or 36. I'm like, okay, which is it? Which is it? Okay, and why are you trying to mislead us? Why are you trying to conceal your actual age? Why are you trying to conceal that? Okay, I'm sure there's a good reason. I shouldn't say a good reason, but I'm sure there's an explanation for why you're trying to conceal your actual age. All right, but so he claims that he was in the ministry for 10 years, which sounds like an impressive number, especially for those woeful Tim worshipers. If your pastor Tim was in ministry for 10 years prior to changing the season, prior to him turning out the lights on his IAG or Walk by Faith ministry, if he was in ministry for 10 years prior to that, that would hold a certain amount of credibility. All right. If a person had 10 years in the ministry, they would be strong. They would be stout in their word. Yes. Okay. They would be confident in their scripture. Okay. They wouldn't fumble their scripture the way that my coach fumbles it. They wouldn't bobble the scripture. They wouldn't bobble the word. Okay. They would not mishandle the interpretations. What are you saying? He's not mishandling it. He's interpreting it his own way on purpose. Is that right? Is that right? Wow. So anyway, so 10 years in the ministry sounds like an impressive number. Okay. Even though it's been 4 to 5 years, let's say 5 years, easily 5 years that they've been away from any ministry work. We don't know when they discontinued their ministry work when they were still in Jackson. Okay. Before they hightailed out of Jackson in the dark of night. Okay. We don't know how long before that he discontinued his ministry work. We don't know if someone else in the community shut down his ministry. We don't know. Okay, so but let's just run through the numbers real quick. Okay, and so now if my coach is 35 now, okay, and they've been out at the farm for 5 years now, that would mean that he was 30 years old before he got out to the farm. Yes. And now, so he was 30 before he got out to the farm. And so now let's just say, let's recall that when he got out of prison, he was 24, based upon the numbers that he provided to us. When he got out of prison, he was 24. So that would imply that he may have done 6 years. He may have done 6 years of ministry work within Jackson. He may have done 6 years of ministry work. Yes. Okay. Now he said that he found Jesus when he was 19. Yes. Okay. And so now, many people find Jesus in their teenage years. Many. Okay. Many youth, they find Jesus in their middle school or elementary years. Many children find Jesus. Yes. But you will be hard pressed to find one of those folks that find Jesus and they simultaneously go into ministry. They simultaneously go into ministry. Okay. And so my coach, based upon the numbers, all right, my coach would have had to go into, yes, he would have had to go into ministry somewhere around 19 or 20 years old. Yes. Okay. And he already acknowledged that he was not raised up in the church. And so with him finding Jesus, first you had to find Jesus. Okay. Then you have to get into your word and you have to familiarize yourself with Jesus. You have to come to know Jesus, develop a deeper relationship with Jesus, study up, build up on your word. Because remember, initially you're a babe in the word. Yes. And you're only good enough, or you're only mature enough to handle the milk. Before you can handle the meat of the word, you got to handle the milk. You got to deal with the milk. Deal with those Bible stories, those childlike Bible stories. Yes. And so certainly if you just found Jesus when you were 19, it would take you at least a couple of years to progress from going off the milk of the word, to getting to the point where you could handle the meat of the word. And certainly before you could get to the point where you're actually educating or preaching or teaching other folks about the word. Okay. And so I'm just running through the numbers. And so we do understand that you had a lot of time on your hands. Yes. When you were in prison, we do understand that. Yes. And so if you were diligent, best case scenario. Okay. Bear in mind, you were working on your GED simultaneously. So some of your study time had to be dedicated to your GED. Yes. Okay. Even though that guy promised to push you through your GED program. Yes. He didn't care about you skipping those GED classes because you had more important things to do, whatever those may have been. Okay. Some of your study time was split preparing for your GED. Yes. And so if you were the most diligent of students during your incarceration and you found Jesus when you were 19, I'm going to say at a genius level, at a genius, gifted, blessed, highly blessed level, then I'm thinking maybe somewhere around 23, maybe somewhere around the age of 23, you could have been strong enough in the word to minister to children. To children, yes? Children's ministry, yes? No, we're not talking about ministering to adults, yes? So you could have been strong enough to minister to children. Now, of course, there were very few children in the prison, yes? And so, I don't know, maybe you had some 16-year-olds, maybe you had some other 17, 18-year-olds. And so maybe you could minister to those children, those young adults, by the time that you were 23 years old, yes? And so if we subtracted off the 5 years that you've been out at the farm, that would put you at 30, yes? And if we would believe that you progressed at some genius level through your word, we could say that, okay, yes, reasonably he may, and I mean may, strong may, he may have gone into the ministry when he was 23. Okay, as far as being a capable minister, yes. I'm not sure what kind of prison labels you guys toss around. Okay, I'm not sure what kind of labels. I know you guys have wives and husbands when you're in prison. I do understand that. So I'm not sure what kind of labels you guys toss around, and maybe they declared you to be a minister of some sort, yes, behind the bars. But if you were a minister capable of ministering to children at the age of 23, okay, then at best that would give you a total of 7 years in the ministry. Okay, 7 at best. I'm trying to give you as much benefit of the doubt. Okay, even though the doubt is overtaken, the doubt is dominating the credit that I'm trying to give you, Coach. Yes. Okay, and so if you run the numbers, yes, if you steady Tim supporters, just simply calm down in your excitement, okay, in your eagerness to get down on your knees to worship your king. If you guys just calm down for a moment, listen to the numbers, run through the numbers just for a moment. At best, he could have been in ministry for 7 years before he got out to that farm. Okay, and so some of you guys say, well, it's just a slight exaggeration. Well, if you're a pastor, if you're a true pastor, you don't need to exaggerate, yes? If you're receiving visions and missions from God, there's no need to exaggerate. Yeah, so we can't just say, well, it's just a small exaggeration. All right, Coach? But what else? What else has he been up to? Oh, yeah? Okay, and so in order to deflect some of the criticism that he's been receiving based upon his behavior, and with him celebrating him getting this high-powered rifle, and of course, folks are concerned. They have questions about how can a felon, how can this felon, how can he regain his Second Amendment rights? And with him stirring that up, him choosing to stir that up, of course, my coach, he's regurgitating some of his history pertaining to him being a convict. And so my coach, he proudly declares that he's an ex-convict. And of course, I'm like, well, Coach, okay, Coach. All right, Coach, here we go. With you not studying your word, yes? Okay, and so you're not studying your biblical word, but obviously you're also not studying your dictionary word. Or should I say dictionary words? Okay, / vocabulary, yes? Okay, you're no longer an ex-convict. Okay, that's just like you get a divorce and you say, well, she's my ex-wife, but then years later, when it's convenient for you, you say she's no longer my ex-wife. Heavy Tim supporters, get in the comments, explain to me how he can declare, how he can label himself as being an ex-convict. I'm sorry, as being no longer an ex-convict. Okay? Grammatically, he will always be an ex-convict. Yes? Okay? Always. Now, he could claim that he's no longer a convict. Yes, because he has not been convicted except in his spirit, except in his soul. Yes. And that's why he has a certain amount of anxiety, a certain amount of depression, definite insecurity. Okay. That's why he's overcompensating at every turn. Overcompensating. Yes. Okay. That's why he's looking over his shoulder. Looking over his shoulder for cooking the boys. Looking over his shoulder for that neighbor that he snitched on. Looking over his shoulder for Travion. Travion is getting older, yes. Looking over his shoulder for his aunts or uncles from that heritage property, bearing down on him. Constantly looking over his shoulder. Okay. For the nieces and nephews that he snitched on. Okay. All right. Because apparently he's convicted. He does have some conviction in his spirit, in his soul. All right. And so but as far as in a worldly sense, you can say that he's no longer a convict, not in a judicial form. Okay. Not in a judicial sense. Okay. He's no longer a convict, but he'll always be an ex-convict. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. Okay. You ready, Tim Writers? I'm sorry to break it to you guys. Your pastor will always be an ex-convict. Now, whether he'll be a convict again will remain to be seen. Yes. Okay. Just like he declared that heritage property did not have God in it. And that's why he wanted to yank his mama from that property. Okay. Some people would make the assertion that my coach may always be a convict. Okay. All right. So what else? What else has he been up to? Well, yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that on the most recent P2P Nodcast, they came out and they claimed that they didn't have anything in particular to talk about. And so they said, well, let's just start with some praise or some worship and we'll go from there. Okay. And clearly it became evident that they didn't have anything to talk about when they started rehashing old stories. Okay. When Tim started talking about these dreams, these mythical dreams, right? All right. So it's enough that dreams already are not real. Yes. Okay. We do already know that dreams, they can be foretelling, okay? But most of our dreams are, there's some type of fantasy, okay? Right? We do know that angels do come to us in our dreams from time to time. So there can be some messages in our dreams, yes? All right? But the majority of our dreams are fantasy, yes? Okay? And so, but they talk about the fact that they didn't have anything to talk about. It became obvious that they didn't have anything to talk about when they just started hashing and throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see what would stick. And I'm like, oh my goodness. All right. And so you guys know on my previous reaction, I tapped out early. Yes. Okay. I did not want to get in. I didn't want to get involved with their prayer. Once they started babbling and rambling during their prayer, I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to critique their worship because everybody worships. They worship however they want to worship. Yes. And us reactors, we're not here to react to their worship service or their worship ceremony. Okay. So I tapped out early. I definitely tapped out early on that previous reaction. And come to find out, I had some other video come through my feed, and come to find out, okay, once they finally finished with their worship service, okay, once they finally finished with their foolish biblical references, okay, once Tim finally finished with that advertisement / marketing type of prayer, okay, once they finally finished with Tim declaring and asserting to God that his channel, that his farm was all about God, once he finished trying to convince God that his particular channel, okay, not only was it labeled as being IAG, once he got done trying to convince God that his channel was truly all about God, As if God did not know his motives, yes? Before he concocted his schemes, God knew what was coming. All right? And so how can you circle back and say, oh, God, oh, by the way, God, forget about what you knew I was going to do. Forget about how you know my heart. You know what's in my heart. Forget about the fact that you're watching me on a daily, on a moment, minute by minute basis. Forget about that fact, God. Okay? Forget about what you see and what you know, God. This channel is all about God. Like, God, this channel is all about you, God. What kind of nonsense is that? Okay? What kind of nonsense? But I tapped out early because I really couldn't take anymore. But I understand that once they got into full ramble mode, and just started tossing out random topics, I do understand. And we warned him months ago, stick to the work, stick to the projects. Okay? Less talking, more working. We warned him. When he talks, that's when he gets into his most trouble. Okay, but what I understand is the rambling and the talking, it got greater, it got more intense, more contradictory as he went. And so I'm going to circle the block. I'm circling the block, yes? I'm circling the block on the last half of that video that I did not watch previously. I'm circling the block. I'm coming back around, okay? And so in this video, I'm going to give my reaction to the second half of that P2P nodcast. Okay? All right? But in the meantime, welcome back to the end game. Welcome back to the end game. I'm going to start my reaction to that video here. All right, so Tim talks about how God says he'll take some old, rusty, rotten sinner, such as himself, in order to display God's power. And yes, that is true. However, unfortunately for my coach, what he has been displaying is the exact recidivism. Yes, the exact recidivism that he's supposedly trying to deter his followers from. Yes, he's displaying it. Yes. Okay, and so we talk about recidivism and returning to some state of being imprisoned. And so now if you have returned to your old hustling ways, as many people feel as though Tim has, if you have returned to your old scheming ways, that's recidivism, yes? If you return to some scamming ways, we don't know that he was a scammer previously. Well, they say scratch a liar, you find a thief. And generally, thieves do not discriminate. Okay, they may have their crimes of choice, but as far as misleading folks, taking advantage of folks, they don't discriminate. Okay, on their thievery, they don't discriminate. Yes, and so you can say, well, you know, he wielded a gun. His crime of choice was robbery. Okay, and so he wasn't scamming anybody when he was robbing them. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Look up the definition of a robber. Look up the definition of robbery. Yes, and let's see if there's potentially some scamming that qualifies as robbery. Okay, but he talks about, you know, taking a dirty, rotten sinner such as himself and displaying his true power. Okay, and so the question is, are you a presentable? Are you a desirable presentation of God's power? Okay, locking those boys behind that gate, locking Megan behind that gate, programming Megan, okay, developing this cult-like thinking, yes? Is that a display of God's power? Okay, God talks about not forsaking the fellowship. Okay, and so if you've isolated the family from everyone, okay, to this point, now you've isolated yourself from Grandma Lily. You know, maybe she separated herself. But at this point, you've isolated yourself from everyone, even the contractors. You've isolated yourself from everyone. Okay, and so we talk about forsaking not the fellowship. Good gracious. You've even, not only have you shunned the church, okay, not only have you shunned the local congregations, but you shunned your family. Okay, and so fellowship starts with the family. All right, it starts with the family. But good gracious, coach, tell us more. Tell us more.
So I really do love that, you know, you.
All right. So Tim talks about as up to now he has no more limitations on his lifestyle. No more limitations. Yes, of course. I guess not. When you're shut off from the outside world. Yes, when you're making up your own rules. Okay, developing your own interpretations. As Megan says, we're outlaws. We toss out the rules. We toss out the rules. Of course, there wouldn't be any limitations on your own property, on your own supposed farm/garden. Okay, but he says, as of now, I'm no longer an ex-convicted felon. Okay, or do you say I'm no longer a convicted felon? And like, okay, not according to the legal system, yes, and according to our judgment, our better judgment, and what we understand. Okay, once again, okay, you'll always be a convicted felon. You're always going to be a convicted felon, yes, and so certainly you'll always be an ex-convicted felon. All right, but you can say that doesn't hold you back from bearing arms at this point. Yes, but there are other freedoms, okay, that you're restricted about. Yes. All right. All this talk that you have about, okay, not wanting to work for someone else. Okay. All this talk that you have about having these home-based businesses. Yes. Okay. We do understand that the majority of that is not by choice. Yes. We do understand that there will be limitations on you. Yes. Once you step away from that farm, there are certain limitations that will be there for life. Okay. Because you made life-altering choices, life-altering decisions back when you were robbing folks. Okay, when you were putting other folks' lives in jeopardy, other folks' lives in danger. Okay, all right, you made life-altering choices, and as such, your life will forever be altered by the fact that you are a convicted felon. You are still a convicted felon, yes, and you are still an ex-convict. It is what it is, coach. It is what it is. God can still use you. He can still use you, coach. No matter how rotten, no matter how rotten, you still are.
Challenged me and showed me that.
And that's right. And it's just a beautiful thing because I have no limit. I feel no limitations because of the things that I did in the past. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I'm wise or because I'm smart or because I know somebody or because I'm lucky. No, it's because of Jesus. Mm-hmm. Jesus is choosing to display my life, this old rusty rotten sinner that don't know anything, don't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like the old folk will say, you just don't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like he's using me to show what he can do. Doesn't the Bible say that he will take the foolish things of this world and he will use them or him to confound the wise? And it's like when it says wise, it's not talking about you're actually wise. Mm-hmm. No, it's actually saying you think you know too much. You know what I'm saying? So since you think you know too much, I'm going to take some foolish person and I'm going to display what I can do. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be confident in my...
All right, Megan talks about getting a promotion. Okay, and so I'm sure that doesn't refer to her being a farmhand. Yes, there are no promotions when you're a farmhand. Okay, yeah. All right, you start out as a farmhand, you finish up as a farmhand. Yes. Okay, unless someday you escape the farm. Okay, so there are no promotions as a farmhand. Okay, unless you're talking about her being promoted by the fact that the boys have been promoted to being full-time operators of the farm. Are we talking about that? Now that the boys are full-time, a 5-year-old Noah is a full-time farm operator. 7-year-old Titus and 10-year-old Junior. Now that they are full-time farm operators, now Megan is promoted to being a supervisor. Is that the possible promotion that we're talking about? Okay. At this point, I don't think we're talking about that type of promotion. But Megan clarifies, and she's talking about what she feels like she's gotten a promotion relative to the homeschooling. Now, I do understand that you guys have lost touch. You've lost touch with the outside world. Okay? They've lost touch with the real world. Yes? Okay? This fantasy that is IAG, this fantasy about it being all about, that's a fantasy. It's not reality. Okay, if you wanted to be a more realistic reality, you need to do a better job of editing these videos. All right? Okay? Better job, yes? And oh, by the way, if you're going to do a better job of editing these videos, you need to discontinue showing the boys talking at all. I'm sorry. Okay? From now on, we need to just see the boys, yes? Seen and not heard. Because once they open their mouths, once they attempt to articulate, once they attempt to express themselves, the wheels fall off, yes? The wheels fall off. Okay? All right? And now, in addition, yes, if you want us to believe that things are progressing around that farm, that anybody's getting promoted, okay, do not go into that homeschool. You do not have to post that. You post it by choice, okay? All right, and so I would recommend you do a little bit of addition by subtraction. And I know you know what neither of those terms mean. You neither know the addition nor the subtraction, yes? We know you skipped those classes when you were doing your GED. We know that. We know you were busy. You were out there on the prison yard playing hoops or lifting weights, okay? Or spending some quality time with your prison boo. We already know that, yes? Okay? But there's certain things you have to cut out if you're going to paint a certain image about things progressing. But Megan talks about a promotion with regard to homeschooling. Now, normally, and this is what I was getting at before, on the outside world, yes, out here in the real world, a promotion comes with at least a title change and hopefully with a salary increase. Hopefully a salary increase, yes? Okay, and so now if your boss comes to you and say, I'm going to give you a promotion, okay, we're going to promote you from being a supervisor to being a manager, okay, and you get all excited, and when he says, but it does not involve any salary increase, okay, then you need to straight up, yo, you on some bull, yes? You need to tell, you're on some bull, okay, I'm going to decline that promotion, okay? But at least there needs to be a title change, and then hopefully a salary / benefit change. Now, we know Megan doesn't receive any salary. Okay. Now, because of course, if Megan was receiving a salary or an allowance, in her case, all right, then certainly Megan likely would have purchased her own vehicle by now. So we know she's not receiving any salary / allowance. And knowing Tim and how he operates around that farm, it would be an allowance. It would not be a salary. So let's just put this in perspective. The boys supposedly receive a salary. They don't receive an allowance. Supposedly they receive a salary for those farm chores. Okay. Megan, she receives neither an allowance nor a salary. Okay. And she's a homeschool educator. But okay. So anyway, so Megan talks about being promoted. And I can only imagine what their interpretation of this term promotion. I can only imagine what it entails. But go ahead, Megan. Tell us about this supposed promotion.
Infirmities, like Paul says, the Lord's strength is made perfect in my weakness.
Yeah.
And I was a former convicted felon. And at this point, I no longer am a convicted felon. It's like there is nothing in my life, no limitations, anything. Whom the Son has set free,
it's free indeed.
Y'all sorry for that. I kind of brought the microphone to my face when I did.
All right. So, of course, this promotion that she's talking about, it's not even appropriate terminology, okay, because she doesn't expound upon why she considers it to be a promotion. Okay, if anything, it would be a progression. I give her credit for being transparent. I know that my coach and y'all's pastor did not appreciate Megan being transparent. Okay, but that's the risk that he runs with these P2P sit downs, yes? There's only so much that you can edit out of it, okay, when you're trying to amass minutes worth of content, okay? So he's got to be careful, especially when you sit down and you don't have a particular topic to talk about, yes? You just have bullet points. You have to be careful about that transparency, okay? You have to be careful about it, yes? That transparency will hop up and bite you in the rear, yes? And by transparency, I mean the truth, yes? The truth will jump up and bite you, yes? Which normally is a good thing. But when it comes to IAG, unfortunately, Tim views the truth as being a bad thing. It affects his coffers. It affects his coffers. It affects the lining of his pockets, his monetization, his tips, gifts, offerings, donations, tithes, Venmo. It affects all of that, yes? And so my coach tries to avoid the truth at all costs. He does. He does. Watch the videos. Watch the videos. Okay, before you guys you heavies get up in the comments, watch the videos first, yes? But Megan is being transparent, so she talks about the fact that she does not know anything about teaching. At any level, she doesn't know anything, yes? Okay, she talked about some of the struggles she had her first year and when she was pregnant or she had a newborn. She talks about this year, her second year, and she talks about she's been praying. She's already looking forward to the third year, but the third year, I guess, doesn't start until November. And these videos are so far behind so that, I don't know, this video might be from what, May? So from May to November, that's 6 months in the future. And so how are you talking about, something that would happen 6 months from now? Okay, you're probably closer to being within your second year than you are to approaching your third year of teaching. What are we talking about? And how would that be a promotion? It hasn't happened yet. First of all, it hasn't happened yet. So, and secondly, it's so far off into the future. These are hopes. These are aspirations for you. Yes. All right. But at least Megan admits that she knows nothing. Okay. Which is fair. It is fair. Yes. It's fair for her to not know anything. Oh, it's unfair for her to not prepare, not have the time, the opportunity to prepare. Yes. All right. It's unfair for her to try to have to present curriculum for 3 separate age groups. Okay. It's unfair. It's unacceptable. Yes. In the public school system, typically 3 preps is a max. 3 preps is the max because there's immense challenge in 3 preps. Okay. And these are for certified licensed teachers. Yes. 3 preps is the max. So how are you telling me an inexperienced homeschooler that knows nothing? Okay. And when we talk about 3 preps, we're talking about at the high school level. Okay. When you're at an elementary level, there are no 3 preps. You focus solely on your singular age group of students, your singular skill level. And there's some small variations in there, but your singular skill level of that particular age group, you focus on that. Yes. There's no way in the world at an elementary level. Yes. There's no way in the world at a kindergarten level that you try to focus on 3 different curriculums, 3 different age groups, 3 different skill levels. Okay. There's no way in the world. It's a recipe for failure. We've seen the results. Okay. Long before Megan finally came out with the transparency. Okay. Because they've been seeing the comments within the reaction spaces. Long before that, we already saw the results or the lack of results. We've already seen it. Okay. And especially considering the fact that at least one of those boys is special needs. Okay. Don't take this the wrong way. You heavy Tim followers, don't take this the wrong way. Yes. But some of us, we know special needs when we see it. Yes. Some of us are trained in identifying special needs. Okay. And identifying intervention activity in order to counteract. Okay. In order to address some of those special needs. But some of us, we know special needs when we see them. Okay. And we're proactive in addressing them. Tim talks about attacking things. Yes. Why has he not attacked the special needs of at least one of his boys? At least one of them. Why has he not attacked that? He's attacking everything else. He's attacking the reaction channels. He's attacking his supposed haters. Okay. He's attacking some of his own subscribers. Okay. About their 45 years of service and how they wasted 45. He's attacking them. Why is he not attacking? He's attacking his contractors. He's attacking his family members. Why is he not attacking? Okay, why is he not attacking the fact that one of his boys needs some special needs intervention? Okay, but Megan, tell us more about this supposed promotion. Tell us more about this.
I should have been taking it away. Or I should have been like, ha! For real. It's like, but that needed a P2P motivation. Hashtag P2P motivation growl there.
For real.
Yeah. I ain't did one of those in a while. It's like, I'm going to get talking so good, I'm going to have to go outside and record a P2P motivation. For real.
That's awesome.
But what about you? How have things been going with you with all this new stuff that the Lord has been blessing you with? Like you said, on one video, I know you said you felt like you got a promotion.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I am loving this season of life. I was doing just some homeschool prep and stuff like that. And I realized that I was going to be going into my 3rd year full-time homeschooling.
All right, so Megan talks about adding worship songs to her homeschooling. Now, if this farm is all about God, yes, wouldn't they be doing worship songs sporadically throughout their day? Might they not wake up with worship songs? Yes. Might they do worship songs before or after lunch? And might not they do worship songs before or after dinner, before or after they finish some of their chores? If it is all about God, wouldn't they have worship songs sprinkled throughout their day? Why would Megan have to try to inject, why would she have to try to inject some worship songs into their they're already ineffective homeschooling? Okay, and I understand that this was a suggestion from the principal, Tim. I guess this was one of his suggestions. He says, well, when all else fails, let's go into worship. Okay, forget about the educational part. Let's go into the worship. Okay, well, let's try to distract these boys with worship, so they won't realize that they're being cheated on their education. Okay, they won't realize it. Yes. Now, certainly Timothy Jr. is getting older. Yes. And the closer he gets to those teenage years, he's going to start to realize, he's going to start to notice the red flags around that farm. Okay. But Megan talks about implementing some worship songs. And I'm like, okay, so now there are private schools, there are private Christian schools around my area. I assume they're around everybody's area. But there are private Christian schools. There's some Catholic schools. And some of them, they do have song or worship as part of their curriculum, yes? But they don't have it instead of their curriculum. They don't have it instead of the curriculum, yes? All right, Megan, you're failing. Now, if you guys are supposedly all about God, the boys are getting plenty of worship time. Plenty of worship time. They're getting plenty of the Bible, plenty of the Word, plenty of the Scripture, supposedly. Okay? Right now, your focus should be purely on curriculum. Academic curriculum only at this point, Megan. Okay? But tell us more, Megan. Tell us more.
Coming up in November.
It's a blessing.
And it's just like, you talk about you don't know nothing. It's like, I had no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. For real. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I had no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. For real. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. I had no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. For real. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. And, first year is like pregnant / had a newborn baby.
Yeah.
Challenging,
And he's pretty crazy.
Challenging to say the least. Challenging to say the least. And then the second year, I was just kind of starting to get my bearings this year, y'all, but still kind of all over the place. I'm just going to be transparent for a minute. Still all over the place. And this year coming up, I've really been praying. I've been looking at curriculums. I've been seeking the Lord because I want to.
Megan talks about the fact that she's desperate for more structure. And that is her being transparent. Okay. And so when she's got those 3 different age groups plus the special needs, Not to mention babysitting or nurturing or nursing, even nursing. Okay, she was nursing Benjamin. She may still be nursing Benjamin. Okay, so but now when you're doing all 4 of those things, juggling those 4 different tasks all at once, certainly your instruction would be absent of structure. It's inherent, coach, yes? And so while my coach is out there riding on his foolish little zero turn, yes? While he's in the back room editing his goofy little videos, yes? Pretending to be some sort of filmmaker, spending excessive time on editing, excessive. Trust me, with the extra crap that he adds in, the amount of things that he has to edit out, trying to underlay it with music, doing his voiceovers, yes. All right, excessive amounts of time spent in his editing room. Okay, and so needless to say, there would be impossible for her to have structure, okay, with the setting that she has to operate within. Okay, so she's being transparent, okay, and with regard to that, she's absolutely being transparent in that regard. But Megan talks about the fact that, well, if they use the vocational homeschooling, okay, and so she's saying, well, if they use the vocational homeschooling as their homeschooling, that would be awesome. That would be an awesome homeschool. And I'm like, okay, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Okay. Now, most modern farmers, they send their kids off to private school or public school. Okay. They work the farm on the times, their off times in between schooling. Yes. They realize that the best education for those kids is at a certified school, within a certified school system. Yes. Okay. And my coach, being the 6-figure internet guy that he is, certainly he can afford to pay for private school. Certainly. Maybe not. Okay. All right, but now she tries to claim that vocational school be excellent. You know, they could do some counting when they're counting the eggs. Yes, they could do some arithmetic when they're subtracting the feathers that the chicken lost or that the turkey lost. Yes, they could do some subtraction. They could do some multiplication when those sheep are in there breeding, or when those pigs in that messy, nasty old pigsty are in there breeding. They can do some multiplication and make it a stretch and story. And then they can write stories about what they've seen. Yes. Okay. When they see the fleas, the mice, and the rats within that shed shack, they can write a short story about what they saw. When they smell the pungent aroma of that pigsty that's pushed up close to the barn, which of course makes it even in closer proximity to the mobile home. Okay, they can write some sentences about the aroma and what it smells like. Okay, yes. They can liken it to being in hell, and this is what hell must be like. Yes, we know it's hot in hell. We know it burns in hell. Yes, but hell must also smell like this. It must smell like a bunch of pigs crammed into a pigsty. Yes, pooping, amassing 1 to 2 feet of pig poop. Yes, layered with pig pee. Not to mention the pee, the urine, the poop from the fowl, from the poultry, yes. Let alone whatever type of aroma is coming from the sheep pen. Okay, coupled with our own leach fields. Okay, our leach fields / septic fields / poop fields, yes. Along with these poop-covered tractors and side-by-sides and zero turns. This is what hell must smell like. Okay, there's been a lot of talk about what hell feels like for those unfortunate souls that wind up there. Yes? No, we're not going there. We're not talking about my coach. We're not going there. Yes? That's between him and his maker. Yes? Okay, we know he often disagrees with God. Yes? And so if God sentenced him to hell, say, yes? I'm sure Tim would disagree with it. Say, nah, God, I'm not going to hell. I had a channel that was all about God. I pretended to be all about God for a decade. How dare you send me to hell? I'm not going. I'm not going. That's something my coach would do. Yes. But of course, we know before he finished that sentence, in his resistance to God, before he finished the sentence of, I'm not good. Yes. But good gracious, she talks about that. Now that's just them trying to make excuses. Yes. That's them making excuses, trying to take the easy way out. And let's just scrap this whole classroom thing altogether. Let's just scrap it all together. And let's just make their education based upon their farm work, their farm chores, the farm animals, etc. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Megan, you too, Megan? You too? Would you do that to your boys, Megan? Would you really do that to them? We, generally speaking, parents want the best for their children, yes? Okay, and parents, we have trials, we have tribulations, we have struggles, yes? And sometimes that impacts our children. We know that, okay? We do understand that no parents are perfect. We understand that, Megan. But generally speaking, we want the best for our kids. Okay, and so how dare you suggest that you scrap any type of structured, is that term again, any type of structured home education in favor of this vocational farm chore based education, Megan? Come on, Megan.
Like set a foundation. And I'm so glad you even suggested worship, because I was like looking through and like being inspired by the Holy Spirit, like worship songs for homeschool. Like I really, really want to start to set a good foundation for homeschool now, so that we're not like, okay, we're gonna do this, which I think is great. Like we've learned a lot of things. We have amazing vocational homeschool, y'all. If all we did was live on the farm, walk around and do farm chores, and the things that we saw, we counted and we did different math, right, farm math, and then we started spelling and making sentences and paragraphs, yeah, and writing stories about the things that we did, that would be like a full homeschool. Exactly. You know. But I just want to like have more structure.
Megan talks about how she wants God to be the foundation of their homeschooling. And once again, I'm like, okay, hold on now. I thought IAG, for IAG, God was the foundation for IAG. It's all about God, yes? And so what are you talking about on an IAG farm, a supposed IAG farm, within a supposed IAG homeschool, that you have to try to assert the fact that the homeschooling is all about God? What am I missing here? Will there be any education taking place? Any education? Okay. Boys get enough worship. Well, they should be getting enough worship. Bible say they should be getting ample Bible study. Okay. When your dad is an ex-pastor, okay, and your mom is an ex-missionary, okay, when considering the fact that they used to walk by faith, they used to walk by faith a decade ago. A decade ago. Okay? They haven't walked by faith for at least 5 years now. Okay? And so those boys should get plenty of time in the Word. Yes? They should get plenty of time with worship. Yes? And they should get plenty of layers of it being about God. Yes? All right? But now, okay, so let's keep going. So now, Tim jumps in because Megan is talking too long. He's like, okay, Megan, my turn, Megan, my turn to toss in some nonsense. If we're going to stretch out this content, if we're going to stretch out this foolish P2P sit down nodcast, it's my turn, Megan. Let me jump in. Tag me in, Megan. And of course, Megan's still talking. She's still talking. And Tim's like, yeah. Okay, so Tim jumps in. And so Tim, he's talking about the fact that he chose Megan. And I'm like, okay, so we understand that you met Megan through a prison pen pal service, a prison pen pal program that most of us are already familiar with, yes? And so how did you choose Megan, considering that she was outside in the free world and you were locked up in prison? You were locked up in prison, yes? Okay, that's similar to you going to a pet store, yes? And you're looking at the puppies in the cage. You're looking at the puppies in the cage, and you're trying to judge their demeanor, and you're watching them. And, okay, which one of them is shy? Which one of them is a bully? Which one of them is aggressive? Which one keeps pooping and peeing all over the place? Okay, which one of them is cozying up to the cage, and which one is making eye contact with you, right? So it's similar to going to a pet store or to a breeder, and you're seeing pets or puppies running around, and you choose one, yes? Okay, and so for my coach to claim that he chose Megan, okay, considering that Tim was the one locked in the cage, considering that Tim was the one writing Megan those incessant letters, okay, digging into Megan's life, digging into her assets, okay, digging into her education level, her family members, her family structure. He was doing all that investigation, all that research, and writing it down, writing it down in that book of chants. Writing it down. One page will be a chant. The next page will be Megan. Megan did this. Okay, she has a sister. Okay, her mom. This and that. She's been doing writing down notes on Megan. Okay, and then presenting himself in a certain fashion that was congruent with Megan's story. Yes, adopting Megan's story as his own. Of course, we know eventually he adopted Megan's assets. He adopted Megan's property as his own. But wasn't it Megan that was looking in the cage, okay, when you were presenting this image? Okay, whenever they would go to visit you, wasn't it you that was in the cage, and Megan was judging you based upon what you put in those letters? Okay, it wasn't Megan that was judging, I don't know, this guy's kind of rough around the edges. I don't know about this dude. When I look in his eyes, I see nothing. I don't know about this dude. Okay, he's got a certain look about him. I don't know about him. And, but religiously, it sounds like he talks a good game religiously. So he might be all right. Okay, and I'm desperate at this point. I don't think I'm ever getting married. I don't think anybody would ever have me. Okay, and so, I don't know. Let me go home and sleep on it. Let me go on and sleep on it. And we know Megan slept on it for day after day, month after month, yes? Before eventually she got to the point, she said, well, let me take that puppy over there. I'm going to take that puppy over there. Okay, and I'm going to call him Tim. He told me that's his name, yes? So I'm going to call him Tim. I'm going to take that puppy over there, and I'm going to call him Tim, yes? And just hope he doesn't bite me. Which, of course, we know eventually he did. And some would say he's still biting her on a daily basis. Yes? Okay? Right here when Tim said, well, that's why I give you a hard time. Okay? That's why I'm so hard on you. Yes? What do you think that him being hard on Megan, what do you think that equates to? That equates to Tim biting her. Biting the hand that has fed him. Yes? Biting the hand that still feeds him. Okay? Biting the hand. Yes? Right? He talks, oh, that's why I'm so hard on you. All right? But he talks about how he chose Megan. And he talks about, well, before Megan, he was interviewing women. He saw dating as being an interview process. And so now, once again, do the numbers add up? Okay? Y'all's pastor went into prison when he was 17. Okay? He didn't find the Lord until he was 19. Yes? So that means when he was popping cooches in his teenage years. Now, sure, he claims that he was going to save himself for his wife. Okay? He desired to claim himself, to save himself for his wife. Okay? But he admits that he didn't. He was unsuccessful in his desire to save himself. In his desire to say, he desired to save his temple. But at least he admits that he was unsuccessful. Okay? Just like they say, well, they desire to live a debt-free life. All right? You ready, Tim Writers? Okay? That does not mean that they are debt-free. They desire to be debt-free, yes? Okay? Just like many of us, we desire to be a millionaire someday. That doesn't mean that we're currently millionaires, yes? Okay, so Tim claims that he desired to save his temple. And so he was interviewing, when he was dating, he was interviewing women. Now, before he got locked up, he would have been 15 or 16, considering that he was out in the streets early in his teen years, out running and gunning, yes? Okay? That means that he was interviewing, probably at the age 14, let's say 14 through 17, he was interviewing. And I mean interviewing the goodies. We'll call them the goodies. He was interviewing the goodies, okay? We're all adults here, yes? Okay? But he thinks he was interviewing women. Now, I don't know which 13, 14, 15-year-old boys are dating women. I don't know which women would lower themselves to date a 15-year-old boy. Okay, but if he was supposedly interviewing folks, he would have been interviewing girls. Let's not get it twisted. He would have been interviewing girls, but he did not find God until he was 19. So that means his interviewing process would have had to be conducted when he was in prison. All we're doing is we're checking the numbers. We know y'all's pastor. We know y'all's pastor struggles with his mathematics. So we're just running the numbers. And so if he found God when he was 19 and he was trying to present his body as a temple or preserve his body, he was locked up from 19 to 24. He says when he was dating, he was interviewing. What kind of dating was he doing in prison? Now, certainly he was likely interviewing people. Okay. Unlikely that he was interviewing women. Likely he was dating people when he was in prison from the age of 19 to 24 after he found God. Likely he was dating people. Unlikely that he was dating women. Prison booze don't count. Prison booze don't count. I'm sorry to draw attention to it. Okay? You woeful Tim worshipers, I'm sorry to draw attention to it. Yes? Okay? So either he's acknowledging that he dated men within the prison. Okay? Either he's acknowledging that he interviewed men within the prison, or this entire story is made up, it's concocted. Which is it? You got to go one way or the other. Yes? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Yes? Okay? And so I think I'm just going to have to jump on this. I think I got to jump because he's talking about interviewing and saving his body as a temple and how, he faltered along the way. And I think I have to jump at this point. I'm sorry. I tried to hang in. I was trying to finish off the second half. The second half of this video. I do understand that he talked about doing the work on his mobile home, the raggedy old mobile home, doing the work himself. And he claims, well, if he does it himself, at least he knows it will be done right. And of course, us longtime viewers, we know that's absolutely false. That's a falsehood. Okay, based upon the work we've seen out there at Grandma Lily, the work that we've seen on the interior of Hema, the work that he's performed on that shed shack that he calls Ernest, the work that he did on that mini barn down by the first pigsty, okay? He said about at least the work on the mobile home exterior will be done right. And they were like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It will not be done right, okay? He's talking about it being done up to a certain standard. And like, okay, there's just a little bit of truth in there. There's a little grain of truth in it. It will be done to a standard. Unfortunately, it's going to be done to Tim's standard. And that standard is be addicted with the process, get the process going, cut some corners, yes, along the way, and then just lay it down. Just leave it where you finish with. Just leave it where you finish with it, and then claim that God changed the season. Okay, he changed the season. Okay, but he talks about, he wants it done to a certain standard. Of course, he tries to claim that he had contractors that abandoned him along the way. And we know, of course, for good reason, they abandoned him. But for him to claim that he can do any type of carpentry work, any type of construction work at a better quality level, than licensed contractors, utter lunacy. Yes, but I know you heavy Tim followers, you ready Tim writers, I know you guys are eating it up. You're like, num, 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 num. Num, 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 num. Tell us more, Tim. Tell us more about how you're going to create the best mobile home that people have ever seen. Tell them, right? They're going to eat it up. Tell us. We can't wait to see this best mobile home that we've ever seen. We can't wait to see it. Yes? Now, the best of best mobile homes actually have vinyl siding on them. They don't have raggedy old barn siding. They don't have raggedy old barn/shed siding attached to them. Okay, the best of mobile homes have modern vinyl siding. Okay, so for you to put up that raggedy old wooden siding so that it matches up with your barn, so that your house matches your barn, come on now. Come on. All right? It's not going to be the worst mobile home that we've ever seen, yes? Because clearly Emma/Hema already represents the worst that you can see, yes? It already represents the worst, okay? But for you to claim that it's going to be the best ever, I was trying to make it to the end of the video, but I can't take anymore. I can't take no more.
So it's been really great. I think I picked out a good curriculum. Maybe at some point on the IAG Farm channel, I could do like a look through of our curriculum and talk more about like the different curriculum we're trying out or something like that. I don't know. But I've just been really enjoying just kind of letting the Lord guide me and teach me and become our foundation for homeschool. Because that's, to me, was the most important thing of homeschool, is that Jesus is like the head of IAG homeschool.
So you're saying homeschool is all about God?
Oh yeah,
it's all about God.
It's
homeschool,
all about
everything.
IAG homeschool,
Yeah,
for real. That's our
it.
homeschool. Is IAG homeschool.
It's
all about
everything
God.
We do. That's a beautiful thing, though, because that's actually why I've never said this before on camera, but we talk about it all the time. But that's why I'm so hard on you about things, because that's actually why I chose you as my wife. Like I was going through this process of interviewing women. Like that's what dating was for me. Like last Godcast we talked about, man, woman, being married, not being married.
That's it for my reaction to the balance of that P2P sit down nodcast. Okay, where Tim talks about it getting crazy. It definitely got crazy because they started to wander in their rambling. We know that rambling involves wandering. They started to wander and just throwing things out there and grasping, reaching and grasping and exaggerating along the way in order to try to fill in this content. But I told you I can't take no more. Please like, comment, subscribe. Heavies, readies, get up in the comments. Tim, there's room for you. There's always room for you, Tim. I want to shoot out some love to my current subscribers. Thank you for showing me that love. I do appreciate it much. For those viewers that have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing so that we can continue to shine that light. Until next time.